Welcome to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for joining us. Well, we're seeing some big changes in the types of businesses popping up in Northern Nevada, where we used to see mostly big box stores, major brand names, and chains. Now we're seeing an influx of small local companies, tech businesses, and startups. But it can be hard for these startups to stay viable without a little help. So Jeff Saling and Eric Madison, founders of StartUpNV, are here to talk about that. Thank you both so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
It really is an exciting time watching Northern Nevada, especially diversify its economy, all these new businesses popping up. Is that what you guys are seeing? Just a ton of interest?
Yes, it's having been here for a few years and seeing us in less good times, it's super exciting now to see us in expanding times, and the kinds of people who are moving here and the types of technical resources that are now becoming available for our startups is incredible.
Absolutely. Okay, now just as a baseline, when we say startups, what exactly are we referring to?
So it's companies that are usually pre-revenue. So companies that are just building a product, getting it to market, usually have less than 20 employees, and they're not to that stage where they're generating enough money to be sustainable. So it's usually the first couple of years.
Okay, and so it doesn't necessarily have to be online. I think people probably link tech and online with startups usually.
Right, and for us, only I'd say about half are tech. We have a lot of startups that are not tech. Now that being said, almost every startup is what you call tech enabled today. They have a website, they have social media, but they may not be a tech company.
Well, gosh, I mean, everything is tech enabled now, right? I mean, individuals are tech enabled.
Life is tech enabled.
Yeah.
And another important point is roughly half our startups are women-owned companies.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we like it too.
Is that pretty typical in the startup world, or is that unique to Northern Nevada?
So normally about 10% of companies have female founders. And right now, I think we're between 40 and 50% of our first class of startups are female founders. And we didn't plan it that way. They were just the ones that came to us.
Great companies, great founders. They
so
happen to be women.
What's the difference? Why do you think that's happening here? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. I think that, I think that you're starting to see more women get into business earlier in their life. Right, so they're getting in and they're founding companies earlier, where if you look at some of the companies that were founded years ago by women, they were doing it later stage. So they were executive level before they branched out. You're seeing a lot of women come right out of college founding companies. So I think you're starting to see that entrepreneurship buzz across across the genders. So.
All right, so to give people an idea of the kind of presence that startups have in our community, can you guys give some examples of startups that what they do here locally?
Sure.
Well, our lineup of 15 companies, ranges from product companies to technology companies to companies that process credit cards better than others do. There are new ideas in social media management to a better idea of existing things that are out there. So the range is huge, and we've got ideas that are just as good or better than those in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, and it would be cool to see that really take off here. But I understand there are a lot of big obstacles and things to overcome when small businesses like this are trying to get off the ground. So what are you finding is hindering their success?
I think there's two things that we really help with that are the biggest hindrance. It's finding mentors that help them know what they don't know. Because if you're an entrepreneur, there's a lot of things you don't know that you don't know at that point. The second is access to capital to get the companies going. And we're working with mentors all over the country. So we're not limiting those to local people or even the West Coast, or even, we're looking at mentors for these companies that are specific to their industry. And then we're also recruiting and helping early capital partners into Nevada. 5 or 6 years ago, getting somebody to invest in a company in Nevada was almost impossible. But now you're seeing not only Silicon Valley angel groups and VCs investing, you're seeing people with high wealth starting their own funds that are Nevada based. So we're starting to see that synergistic access to capital that wasn't here 5, 10 years ago.
So mentors and money. What about overall culture? I mean, we hear that Nevada is an extremely business-friendly state. Does that hold true for startups?
To a large degree, it does. But there are things that are energy levels for the startups that are cooperating with each other in an incubator, having that kind of energy level where founders are helping founders, in addition to whatever program StartUpNV provides for the founders, having them be in a facility, in a program with others that are trying to do the same thing, that are striving for those same dreams. I've been in incubators and other places in the States, and when you're in a good incubator, it's contagious, it's energizing, it's amazing the kind of energy you get from everybody that's sort of at that same stage that you are.
So this sharing of ideas is kind of a big part of what you guys do. How else do you define your role? So say a company comes to you and they want a little help getting off the ground. What's the process?
So the first thing they do is they come and they pitch to us. Everybody comes in. We have open pitch days. They can sign up on our website. They come in and pitch their idea. We get great ideas. We get bad ideas, right? Then we give them feedback on the pitch, and we give them feedback constructive. Yes, that's great. You want to go to Mars, but we don't think you can build the ship to go to Mars, right? Or, yes, we think we can help you, and if we think we can help you, then we invite them into the program, and then we take them through a 30-day onboarding process, which understands where they are, what they need, 30, 60, 90-day goals, and then we start matching them with the mentors. And when they're ready, we'll introduce them to our capital partners to give them money.
Okay, and then there's a fee involved with membership, right?
Yes, so small fee. We are a nonprofit because we have a relationship with UNLV. We have to be a nonprofit. And so there is a small fee that they have to pay on a monthly basis. For the first set of startups that we're working with, we don't take equity in the companies, but starting in our next class will probably be July, August, we're going to start taking equity in the companies. And the reason we do that is because we want to eventually make the program free to everybody. So if we take equity in a company and 5 years from now they sell for $100 million and we own 2%, we now have money that we can pay it forward to the next generation.
It's almost like a microloan, only like a information microloan.
Yes, that's exactly. We're helping that next group succeed so that that group can help the group that comes after them to succeed.
Now I know that obviously when it comes to job creation and having a real thriving business culture here in Nevada, those are all important things. But what would you say having a thriving startup culture here, especially in the northern part of the state, does for a community?
Well, you don't have to look far to understand that sort of cycle of goodness that comes from startups. There's a lot of jobs and services created just as the startups are getting going. But as these startups start to succeed, the founders will have success and money to spend on their next startup. Usually their key executives have a good idea or see that they can succeed, and they'll go out and start their own company. And then that'll draw more people into the cycle. And that cycle of that virtuous cycle of success leading to success has happened in many places, not only in California, but around the world. And there's no reason why it can't happen here. We have all the things you need to have it happen here.
Absolutely. Okay, so if someone sees this and they're thinking, I am really interested and I want to get involved, how do they learn more about you guys or start the process?
So go to our website, startupnv.org, and we look at kind of 4 things. We want startups to come pitch to us. We want volunteers to help us kick our programs off. We want donors. Since we are a nonprofit, we are donation-based until we get that first big exit. And we want mentors. We want people in the business industry. There's a lot of ex-Silicon Valley people living in Reno, the Lake, this area. We want to get them out of the woodwork, get them off the golf course, and then helping our startups. So.
Reluctantly off the golf course.
And even for the folks who don't think they can donate any substantial amount, we're actually part of the Amazon Smile program. So on our website, if you find the Amazon logo in the donate page, you can actually have a very small percentage of your Amazon purchases be given to StartUpNV. So check out that logo on the webpage and it'll tell you what to do.
Now, without this type of incubator help, what's the typical rate of success for a startup?
90 to 95% fail. on average, and ones that go through either an incubator program or an accelerator program, that drops to around 60%.
Wow.
So 3 to 4x improvement in number of companies.
Still a tough industry, though.
It is. Well, that's across every industry, though. So startups aren't any different than a restaurant, right? So the difference with startups is, like most restaurants will fail in 3 to 5 years. Startups will fail in 2 to 3 years. It's just a shorter cycle.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing some good work then.
We
hope.
So.
And you're pretty new, right? What are your backgrounds in business that kind of drove you into this?
Well, most of the founders are ex-Silicon Valley folks that have done, the IPO thing. We've worked in various roles in companies that eventually went public, and this is our way of giving back. Our fourth founder is a patent attorney, so we have we can help the folks protect their IP.
That seems useful.
He also is the head of economic development for University of Nevada, Las Vegas, so that's our tie into UNLV. And so we're also incubating all of the intellectual property and startups coming out of the university starting this month.
So you guys are working obviously Southern Nevada, but you do have offices up north, obviously.
We actually have 10 virtual locations across the state right now. So we call them dual hubs. Reno and Vegas are our dual hubs, where that's where we have meetings and have the largest number of our clients. But we have a relationship with SBDC, which is Small Business Development Center, and they have offices in every rural county. And so we have a partnership with them where they're funneling startups that are outside of their scope to us. We actually have one right now that is in Fallon, right? So we have our first rural startup, and so we're going to start rolling that out, because ideas can come from anywhere. They can come from rural or urban, right? So we're going to cover every part of the state.
Okay, now before we go, because we only have a little less than a minute left, for those of us who are less business-minded and more consumer-minded, myself included, what can we do to help these fledgling businesses get off the ground? I mean, how do you even know where to go to patronize these businesses?
Well, if you want to find out who some of our current members are, you can go on our website. You go to the About Us page, and all of our members are listed. The other things you can do are to help StartUpNV. Do those volunteer activities. Volunteer to be a mentor if you can. Push those Amazon purchase, that 1/2 of 1% or whatever it is that Amazon's willing to give us. All of those little things help.
Okay, so less of like shopping at their business, or
well, you'll know who they are if you go to our website. So, and it changes on a quarterly basis. Some of them may graduate and new ones will come. So if you're looking to patronize those businesses that are in our program, they're all listed right there on the website. Their logo will link you to their website. Most of them you can buy stuff from them. Not all of them are consumer businesses, but that's the best way to find out who we're working with. Absolutely. And how to patronize them.
Okay, well, we will get your website up on our website so people can check that out. Thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well, coming up on Face the State, summer is here, but Lake Tahoe's beaches aren't. After a wet winter, the lake is high, leaving a lot of people looking to boats instead. But before you go, there are some rules you should know, or you could face some fines. We'll talk about that right after the break.